What's going on, everyone? So, I Know What You Did Last Summer, the official Twitter posted over on X, or official X, whatever you want to call it, right? They posted, production is underway for I Know What You Did Last Summer, exclusively in theaters this summer. I'm excited. They also posted this image of the Hookman, and I am genuinely excited. I'm genuinely looking forward to this movie. This film has something that really, the first one, in my opinion, didn't really have. Part two, I thought you could argue had it, right? And that is the mystery of who the killer is going to be, right? The original I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I'm sure that there's some people that disagree, but there were literal scenes where you could see his face, right? Like, literally, like, you can even Google images and it'll show up and you'll see his face, right? Like, and so it was something that you knew going into that film that, okay, kids hit guy picks up Hook ends up killing kids that hit guy with Hook, right? That's essentially what you knew was going to happen. But then you got into I Know What You Did Last Summer, or I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and there was a bit of mystery. Now, if you watched the trailer, you knew that it was him again, and, you know, the trailer clearly again showed. But going into that film, there was this kind of anticipation of, like, is he back? No, he can't be back, right? Like, but they didn't find the body, so maybe he is back. And then you had the nightmare to end part one, and then now you got part two, and ultimately the big twist wasn't so much that the killer was, Ben Willis. That was pretty straightforward, right? They made that clear. It was that his son was also involved, right? Benson, get it? Will Benson. So that was something that was a little bit of a misdirection and a surprise at that time, right? Like, you had this kind of perfect guy. They kind of went the Derek route, if you've seen Scream 2. And then he's just like perfect, too good to be true. And then all of a sudden he turned psycho killer, right? So that was interesting. That was something that, kind of added a level of mystery. Again, like the Ben Willis storyline, not Bill. I combined Ben and Will. But the Ben Willis storyline was basically straightforward. Like, hey, here you go, right? Not much of a mystery in that regard. But now you're going into this legacy film with the mystery of who is it, right? Because we know now it can't be Ben Willis. Ben Willis would be like 70, 80 at this point, right? So it can't really be him. I don't think that they're going to have some, like, mystery where, like, oh, he survived the drowning of the mud, right? Because he's just laying there dead in the grave. But I am curious to see kind of what direction they go. Is it tie in to Ben Willis? Is it just somebody that's just crazy and psychotic and wanted to go after Julie and Ray and her and their family because, they were the ones that were originally attacked? You maybe get, like, the copycat route. A lot of different directions that they could go with this upcoming legacy sequel. Now, question is, Jennifer Love Hewitt, when is she getting signed on? Because we have Freddie Prinze Jr. He's officially on. He's even posted, images like set from like on location. He posted something about like, jet lag or something like that, right? Now, Jennifer Love Hewitt has relayed that she is working it out, that she has the show and filming for that show 911. I've never personally seen the show, but I am familiar of the show. I know what show she's talking about, but she is trying to work out the scheduling because, like she said, I did a whole video on that. If you're interested in that information, go check out that video after this one, of course. But Jennifer Love Hewitt even relayed, I don't want to be in this movie just for a moment, right? I don't want to just be a cameo and it's like, oh, there she is, and then that's it. She wants to really be a part of this film, right? And that's something I think is very exciting as well. Because in all honesty, look, these horror franchises that keep making these legacy sequels, they're almost all of them have done a terrible job with handling the legacy characters. which is incredibly frustrating. Which, I mean, you could argue it's not their characters. They don't really know how to write them at times, or, they're trying to bridge the gap between new and old, or there's like scheduling conflicts or whatever, right? And it's disappointing. Like Halloween, I thought did a good job until, Halloween Ends just became a dumpster fire. But like you look at things like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the way that they utilized Sally was just like, come on. The Exorcist, right? Terrible. I mean, it was so bad they ended up firing everybody, including David Gordon Green. It's just, they keep doing, I mean, even Scream, right? I am huge on Scream. I've built this channel on the back of Scream, really, right? But if we're being honest, they didn't do a great job with Sidney Prescott in Scream 5. They did an okay job with Dewey and Gale, but their story didn't make sense. They basically reversed their history and reversed their story. Like, if you've watched any other Scream film, you're like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't add up, right? Dewey's not the one that's going to leave. It's Gale, right? And then Scream 6, Courtney Cox had zero reason to be in that film at all. Sydney wasn't even in the film, Nev Campbell, but Gale, Courtney Cox, had literally no reason to be in that film. None. Like, she was as pointless as it gets. And it's just like, okay, well, now you have an I Know What You Did Last Summer. We also have a new Scream that's coming out, Scream 7, which is going to have Sydney as the main focus and Gale as the main focus. Okay, great. Well, now you're kind of getting something similar, hopefully, with I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I like that Jennifer Love Hewitt is adamant about, like, no, I want to actually be in this film. I want to, like, be a focal point. She wants to be front and center. Right? She was one of the ones that was on board before, like, when this was just a rumor, right? She was like, hey, like, yeah, I would love to do another film. And then they reached out to her, and then Freddie Prinze Jr. was like, I haven't heard anything about it. And then eventually they ended up reaching out to him. And it's crazy that he's the first one, he's the one that signed on before she did. But I do appreciate that she, wants to do right. And she wants to make sure that this film is done in a proper manner and make sure that she's actually actively in this film, which I think is great, right? But also, how are they going to kind of make this work? How are they going to kind of figure it out to where, because you got to imagine she's going to play a role in some capacity, and she's going to be interacting with Ray and the Hookman and all that stuff. So are they kind of just trying to get everything else filmed, and then everything with Freddie Prinze Jr. where he's solo and alone, right? Trying to get all that done, and then that way they can, like, oh, hey, here's Jennifer Love Hewitt scenes and whatnot. But I'm very excited for this film. I just think that they have a real opportunity here, not to just do this film, but to do several, right? I mean, you see the resurgence of Scream and many of these, like, horror classics. And look, I'm big on, like, not every horror movie needs to have a sequel and stuff like that, right? And I'm not very big on these, like, legacy sequels, because more often than not, they have I'd rather them just make a sequel than trying to balance, because that's the problem, is trying to balance. You're trying to tell a story surrounded by new characters and develop those characters, but you're still trying to maintain the characters that matter to the fan base. It's a real hard balancing act that I don't think is, unless you have just really good sound writing, it's a very hard thing to juggle. But nonetheless, I Know What You Did Last Summer is getting ready to take a stab at that, which is great. And because they have this mystery, you have the opportunity to really surprise an audience. And you really have the opportunity to potentially have, another trilogy or something like that, right? Like, we don't really count the last I Know What You Did Last Summer and the series. I thought the series was terrible. Like, unwatchably bad. I know some people really like the series because I've mentioned that before, and I usually get the comments that are like, I love the series. And that's great. I'm happy that you liked it, because I thought it was like dreadfully bad. So I don't think that I Know What You Did Last Summer has done a great job thus far with the third film, I Always Know What You Did Last Summer, and then the TV series. So I'm hoping that they actually, like, put some effort into this one. And, again, I do think that there's some real potential here. I think that this is kind of like the freshest it's been since the original. Even more so, arguably, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, it's like, you still have to have good development, good storytelling, good character development, right? Like, if you do this right, you have a real shot here at creating more films, because now you're moving away from Ben Willis, or probably, unless this is like, he's like 80 running around, but chances are they're moving away from Ben Willis. And by doing that, you now open the potential of anybody can kind of be under the slicker, right? Like that's something that you just didn't really have. One of the things that I like about Scream, and I've talked about with Scream, is like, you could do Scream forever. It's not a Michael, it's not a Jason, it's not a Freddy, it's not a, where, unless you're adding a supernatural element to it, as soon as that person dies, that's it, right? It's kind of the same way with I Know What You Did Last Summer, right? As soon as Ben Willis dies, like, that's kind of it. Well, now maybe not, right? Because now you could easily tie it into, it's the, anniversary, and now you have this killer, and then maybe there was somebody else involved, and that's the twist, and then at the end, surprise, like, that kind of thing. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you excited for this? Are you not? You kind of mixed in the middle? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, either way, I would love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot, so we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.